The rebel Free Syrian Army has given the country's government an ultimatum: withdraw all of its forces from Syrian cities and villages, or it will abandon the international peace plan. Western leaders are still scrambling to find a way to stem the violence. A few hours ago, US President Barack Obama discussed the situation in Syria with the leaders of France, Germany and Italy. The US also imposed new economic sanctions against the Assad regime.
Unconfirmed images from Syria. The head of the UN observer mission says 13 bodies were discovered in the eastern part of the country. The victims had their hands tied behind their backs, and some appear to have gunshot wounds to their heads. Meanwhile, diplomatic efforts continue at the United Nations, but US Ambassador to the UN, Susan Rice, says time is running out for the Syrian regime.
We certainly agree with Kofi Annan that this is a moment where we have reached, in effect, a tipping point, with the events over the weekend being the most recent manifestation of that reality. I think we may be beginning to see the wheels coming off of this bus.
Now, Syria says it will complete an investigation into the massacre in Hula later this week. The Syrian UN ambassador called for cooperation from all sides.
We are fully committed to the success of Mr. Kofi Annan's plan, but we need everybody else to be equally committed and on board. Stop mingling with the blood of our people.
Differences prevailed on the next course of action on Syria, even as continuing violence hardened international demand for action against Assad's regime. Russia has ruled out any change in its stance on Syria. Germany too said this is not the time for any military intervention against Syria. The UN Security Council will continue its discussions on Syria today.
And unfortunately, all of the attention has not diminished the death toll. The numbers have more than tripled since the start of the year, climbing steadily upward despite high-level diplomatic efforts. Nearly 8,000 had lost their lives by March 10th, according to Syrian opposition groups. That's when Kofi Annan's six-point peace plan was presented to the Syrian president, rising to almost 9,000 by the time the plan was accepted on March 27th, and to 10,000 when the first UN peace monitors arrived in Syria on April 16th. That number is almost 12,000 today. But of course, CNN cannot verify these numbers due to severe reporting restrictions in the country.